Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the October meeting of the City of Binghamton Planning Commission. My name is Chris Jejits, and I'm the vice chair of the commission and will be acting as chair tonight. The Planning Commission is a 7-member board comprised of local community members tasked with reviewing special use permits and site plans for consistency with the standards and criteria set forth in the zoning code. Based on our planning commission for quorum, and I will conduct a roll call to confirm that we have a quorum. So I'm Chris Judges, and I am here. Mario DeFulvio. Here. Okay. Kelly Weiss. Kyle Nedlick. Here. And our new member, let's give a warm welcome to Tim Cesney. Okay. Nick Corcoran is absent and Emmanuel Priest is absent. That still gives us 5 present, which should be an official quorum. So with that, we can move on to other fun business. Next on the agenda would be approval of minutes. Everybody should have seen the minutes that were distributed from the September meeting. I hope everybody's had a chance to review them. Does anybody have any changes, corrections, additions? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as distributed. Kyle with a motion. Do I have a second on that motion? Second from Kelly. All those in favor of approving the September minutes, please say aye. Aye. All right. They're approved 5-0. Next on our agenda will be seeker determinations. In this portion of the meeting, the Planning Commission will be reviewing documentation provided by the applicants for the first time. Applicants will be asked to step to the microphone and make a presentation to the commission describing their plans. Commission members may then ask questions to the applicant about the project. The commission will then deliberate and either set a public hearing date for the project or request additional information before proceeding. For all applicants, we ask that you and anyone with you, engineers, architects, attorneys, etc., please identify yourself with a name and address for the public record at the beginning of your presentation. Our first applicant tonight for a seeker determination is the Addiction Center of Broome County with a project address of 15 Charles Street. Well, hello, ladies. Would you care to identify yourself?
Yes.
Turning on the mic with the green button.
Hi, I'm Sarah Campbell, an attorney with Hinman, Howard & Cattell, representing the applicant.
Carmela Pirich, the executive director at the Addiction Center of Broome County.
Ready to go?
Yes. Why don't you begin by describing the project at Charles Street you're asking for?
Okay. This is a application for site plan special permit for a social service use in the urban business park. Again, 15 Charles Street, the Addiction Center of Broome County, also known as ACBC, over 50 years serving the community. This building is a 63,000 square foot building that ACBC plans to operate a medically supervised outpatient clinic and case management agency. This application is for 2 floors of this building, the first floor and the second floor. The first floor is about 15,750 square feet. This will be utilized for a substance use disorder outpatient clinic and an outpatient rehabilitation program licensed by the Office of Addiction Support Services by New York State, also called OASIS. You gotta learn a lot of acronyms in this job. And that will allow outpatient rehabilitation program. On the first floor, you have your plans. They're very small. I do have a large set here if anyone wants to. I know you probably all have them on your computers, but the first floor constitutes 41 clinical offices. Those are client-facing spaces, 12 group therapy rooms, 4 medical exam rooms, separate adult and adolescent waiting rooms, and 4 storage rooms and a kitchen. The second floor is about the same square footage. That will house 77 care manager offices. Those essentially are non-client facing rooms, a new bathroom, a gym, yoga, and not showroom, but shower, a record storage area, 2 conference rooms, and kitchen and storage. Also, ACBC has been awarded a grant to replace the windows in the building with new energy efficient windows, but other than that, no exterior modifications are proposed. Also, there was a question in the staff report is what does existing space mean? Those are offices being used now, no reconfiguration or remodeling. Those are just straight administrative offices. Currently, there are about 50 care managers. We're adding additional care managers. Some of this space is planned, for the future, obviously, but unfortunately, the client base is not shrinking, but expanding. So they anticipate that there will be a need maybe that would exceed even this building. The third floor is 5 apartments, and it has been apartment use for I know one of the city council members lived there when she was in college, many, many years. There are no residents of those apartments now. And we are not proposing any residential use with this application. We do anticipate down the line that we may come back to you for an opportunity to utilize those apartments for transitional living. But that is so far in the future that we can't even with any level of certainty talk about that. So we recognize that that would require us to return to the planning commission for a future review. That also is true of the basement space. That's very large as well. But again, in the future, potentially using that for additional offices, storage, perhaps laundry, but again, no immediate plans to utilize that space at all. The hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. To 8 p.m. Right now, there are about 43 people working in the building. After renovations, they anticipate approximately 140 people working in the building. They own 2 ACBC. The ACBC building has 2 parking lots, one at 15 Charles and one at 23 Charles, for a total of 140 parking spaces. Again, the social service use requires 1 per 500 square feet of gross floor area. And even if we took the whole 63,000, we'd still meet the requirement at 126 spaces. That is pretty much it. If you have any specific questions that we can answer, but that's a general overview of the project. The ACBC has another facility on State Street that they will be hopefully leaving, and that staff will come over as well. ACBC also serves a number of outlying communities, outlying counties, and a number of the staff who will have offices in this building will actually see clients in those remote locations. That's pretty much it.
Okay, we'll open up for any kind of questions from members of the commission. I have a couple. I'll let others take first bite at the apple if you've got any.
I
Kyle,
can
go
just
ahead.
start with some of the staff report questions. Sure. Yeah. One was regarding the parking lot. I know you mentioned just some striping was going to be done. So the current parking lot, the staff report mentions that it's almost entirely paved, doesn't conform to current requirements. Would you be interested in potentially adding landscaping in to conform with requirements?
That's something we can definitely look at. There already is a fence and vegetation to the north.
Okay.
And there is a lawn area immediately adjacent to the building. Between the 2 parking lots, in this vacant space here. No disrespect intended, but it's nothing more than a junkyard. So spending a lot of money to provide some sort of landscaping. I mean, there's already, native vegetation there. It doesn't make a lot of sense, to be perfectly honest. If there's any other areas that you'd like to, it's the building is essentially a 0 lot line building, so it runs from street to street. There really isn't an opportunity to put any on Jarvis Street or Charles Street where the building is. but we can certainly look at adding some in the parking area.
Yeah, is that a curb cut the length of the parking lot? I can't remember for that site.
Well, I think there are delineated curb cuts.
Oh, okay. The second question was about the fence, but you had already
Yeah,
answered
there is
that,
a
so-
fence.
Okay.
And none of us could figure out what the showroom was until I saw the bigger plan, and it's a shower
Got it. Okay.
next to the gym.
Thank you.
Sarah and Carmel, a quick question for you. Going back to parking for just a second. I remember when you folks were here a while ago for a different application for this site. There was someone at a public hearing who had raised a concern about parking lot boundaries. Just for the record, are there any ongoing disputes with the boundary lines? Is there any quiet title with anybody neighboring you who may be grouchy?
Not that I'm aware of, no. I mean, again, with a limited number of staff, I mean, the parking lots are essentially empty at this point, but no.
Just to clarify, the fence on the northern property line was recommended for the northern property line of 15 Charles Street, not of the ancillary parking lot further north. So what the applicant referred to as the junkyard. So the shared property line with the junkyard and 15 Charles Street.
So here, Tito?
Yes,
Okay. Okay, I see. Thank you.
it's just a recommendation.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Kelly.
I was wondering if you could possibly expand on some of the medically supervised outpatient services that you'd be providing.
So the medically supervised outpatient services are what we currently provide at 30 West State Street. So outpatient, we have a medical director, we have nursing staff, nurse practitioner staff, and they're responsible for the oversight of the clinic.
This is a loud one. I'm used to mine over there. It's not as loud. So they would come in for like a healthcare, like what is it, all over concerns, or is this mostly rehab facility concerns, or what, what?
Are you asking specifically what medical services?
Yeah.
Okay, so psychiatric evaluations, medication management, medication assisted treatment, occasionally some health related concerns, but if they're more significant, we'd refer them to their primary care to a walk-in.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I think a lot of, from my understanding, a lot of what you do is sort of, you're that first line of assessment, and then your professionals refer people to places that can, that can treat their issues.
Yeah, essentially mostly therapy services.
Are there any other questions? Okay. Seeing none, at this point, I would entertain a motion to declare this as a type 2 action and that there's no further environmental review required. Motion by Kyle. Do I see a second? Okay, motion by Tim. We'll get him on the record. So a motion second to declare this a type 2 action and no further environmental review being required. All those in favor say aye. Okay. And I'll make a motion to set a public hearing for this project for our November meeting. I don't have that date memorized, but the November meeting,
5th.
November 5th. Will someone second my motion to set the public hearing for November 5th? Okay, thank you. And all those in favor of setting that public hearing for November 5th, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you. Is
We'll see you folks in a month.
that election day?
Oh, is it? And will that impact our scheduling, Tito?
Is it? I can't remember if it is.
It's on the 5th, 5:15 PM.
Thank you.
Okay, our second seeker review is the applicant Benjamin Locke, project address 115 Murray Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing building into a 6-unit dwelling in the C1 Service Commercial District. So can I have anybody involved with 115 Murray Street come on down? Okay. So I'm going to have you pull that microphone right up to you and make sure the button's green. And if you'd speak and introduce yourself, name and address for the public record.
Absolutely. My name is Lisa Antelak. I'm the property manager for Benlock for L&R Management Partners.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're asking for at 115 Murray Street, please?
Absolutely. He is looking to take a commercial property and convert it into a residential property with 3 one-bed units on the second floor as well as the first floor. So it would have 6 units total. We're trying to open up, should I say, availability within, the Binghamton area for people that could afford, a marketable price for new rental housing, as well as trying to, as always, as a property manager, try to clean up areas of Binghamton.
What kind of questions do you folks have for our applicant? If you don't mind, Kyle, I'll run because I already got a couple things on my check-in sheet.
Go ahead.
All right, so going off some of the staff comments in the staff report, mention was made that the site plan is missing a required 5-foot wide landscape buffer along all property lines abutting the parking area, and it quotes various sections of the city code. What are your abilities to install some of this landscaping buffer, given the dimensions of the property? You could probably jump in. There's limits to what they can do on the north and the south, but they can do on the east and west.
Correct. Yeah, there's an easement to the north that they would be violating if they put landscaping in. And then the south doesn't need a landscape buffer because it's behind the building. It's not surrounding the parking lot technically, but the east and west sides of the parking lot do require a 5-foot wide landscape buffer.
Okay, that is a requirement.
Yes.
Okay. At this time, he has the architects and engineers doing updating plans that'll include that buffer.
Also in the staff report, installation of a privacy fence along the shared property line. So if that could also be included in an updated set of plans. And also the site plan must be revised to show a garbage enclosure. So what is your plan for garbage on site?
Question on that, as far as an enclosed garbage, being that they're tenants here in Binghamton, are they allowed to use and put to the curb blue bags as long as we're not using a private trash company?
Yes, but the garbage cans have to be kept in an enclosure outside of garbage day. So some sort of, if it's not a dumpster and you're using cans, they have to be in some kind of enclosure or inside of a garage or a shed.
Okay. All right, we will implement that. I will pass that on to.
Go ahead, Kelly.
There's other notes on this that your parking lot is in some disrepair. What's your plans? Are you guys going to be repaving that before you put it into the housing? space?
I know at this time he is looking in for pricing on that.
Okay.
So I know that is one thing that is being taken care of.
Okay.
At this
That's
time.
been suggested. If we were to make that a requirement, would that be something that you guys would be able to, go forward with?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
The last question, again, looking
Mhm.
from the staff reports, concerns about the dumpsters from the Speedway are encroaching on the easement area. So what's the story with Speedway's dumpsters?
He is going to be in contact with an owner or somebody that's into relation with the Speedway. So he said that he can take care of that through conversation with somebody.
Tito, a question for you from the planning department. I guess for what kind of trouble could the applicant get into if the Speedway management or ownership are less than cooperative with how they're placing their dumpsters?
I don't think the applicant would get in any trouble. And that was flagged by the planner that went out to the site. There aren't really like planning commission implications to the fact that those dumpsters are there. It was just something that was flagged as being an issue and that the applicant should think about addressing.
Absolutely.
Are there any other questions for this applicant?
Not for the applicant, but for you. So we would make the contingent on some of the changes before we coming back to the next meeting?
No, you could do that at the next meeting.
At the next
If you're going to vote to approve, you can approve with conditions at that time or.
Yeah, we would just vote to approve and then request like the updated site plan with showing the couple things we mentioned, right?
Mhm.
Got it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you can ask for the changes before the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes, we would ask that when you folks are working with your engineers and architects to have a updated site plan before the November meeting and the public hearing.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, if there are no additional questions for the applicant at 115 Murray, given this is the reuse of an existing commercial building, I would accept a motion to declare this a type 2 action under seeker and that no further environmental review would be required. Motion by Kelly. Do I see a second somewhere out there? Okay, second by Kyle. All those in favor of declaring this a type 2 action with no further environmental review being needed, say aye. Aye, it's unanimous. And I will make a motion to add the 115 Murray Streets application to the November agenda for a public hearing. Will I see a second on that? Second by Kyle. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, also unanimous, 5-0. We will also see you on November 5th.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Appreciate
you. Okay, our third secret determination tonight, the applicant is Campus Life and Style with a project address of 20 Hawley Street. This is a site plan modification review to reconfigure waste management plan for an existing mixed-use building in the C2 downtown business district. Sorry, Bob, you're gonna get blocked there, it looks like. All right, good evening. Pull the microphone up close. You probably need to speak right into it. Make sure the button is green. And please identify yourself and an address for the public record.
How about that? Good evening. My name is Mark Parker, Keystone Associates. I'm here representing the applicant for 20 Holly Street. I can kind of go over what we've done. As it's stated, it is kind of to kind of clean up an existing situation where the dumpsters they had on site were not meeting the requirements. And I'll go over what we're doing to solve that problem. So one of the requests was to have all the dumpster access off Stewart Street. So we've refiguring this alcove here and putting the dumpsters in that location. And we're putting a fence around it. And there'll be no more dumpsters over on Washington Street. We're extending this sidewalk here and putting a new curb in to make that a more pedestrian friendly path. And like I said, all the dumpsters will be moved over to Stewart Street.
Any questions for our applicant? I have one question to start with. I guess I'll call it the gating that's going to lead in this diagonal. Yeah, is that going to be wide enough to allow a truck to get back in there and access, or is this like a walking pedestrian only gate?
Well, that's a good question, actually. I was looking at the plans before I came over here, and I'm not sure what size truck they're going to be using. If it's a typical large garbage truck, then good observation. I don't think those gates are wide enough. If it's a smaller truck to pull those out, there's an overhang there, so the truck can't really flip those dumpsters anyway. So I have to coordinate with the client to see just what size truck they're going to be pulling those out of there with. The smaller rectangles are the 2.5 yard compactors. They're
The
kinda,
ones in red on your plan?
yes.
Okay.
They're kind of on coasters or wheels or whatever. They're not that heavy, but the bigger ones, you make a good point. I got to find out what size truck they got to get in there with.
And if there is some modifications to this to the plans, you can get those to Tito before our next meeting in November, if that.
Yes, because we just widen that gate because it's with that at that angle, it does look like if there's a big truck, it's not gonna, well, they might get in, it's just they might hit a lot of fence on their way out.
Are there any other questions? All right, so if there are no more questions from the commission members, we're going to do 3 different motions. The first is to propose the commission as lead agency under seeker. So I'll make that motion. Kelly will second that motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. 5-0. Second is to declare this as an unlisted action under seeker. I'll make that motion. Kelly will second that. All those in favor say aye. Okay, 5-0. And then a third motion to schedule a public hearing for this application for our November meeting, which will be November 5th. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Ooh, Tim jumping in there. Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye, 5-0. Okay, we'll see you in a month.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, humming right along. We're now at our 4th secret determination tonight. Our next applicant would be James Slocum, and project address of 79 Collier Street. This is also a site plan modification review to configure a waste management plan for an existing mixed-use building in the C2 Downtown Business District.
Hi,
Perfect.
James Slocum, 79 Collier Street, manager.
Okay. Can you walk us through the waste management plan?
Sure. Our plan is to add a enclosure to add some privacy to our dumpster location. The dumpster location is currently on the west side of the building, which is where it's been for the past 4 years. However, when this site plan was approved in 2020, originally it had been placed behind a fence in an alley on the east side of the building. Because of the inability to get a dumpster to actually fit there due to the structure, windowsills sticking out, it never ended up going in that location.
Okay. Questions from the commission members? Go ahead, Mario.
Site plan should note the height and type of fence for the enclosure.
Yes, it's going to be a 6-foot chain link fence with the privacy panels.
So can you get that on the plan so that next time we can have
Yes.
it?
Absolutely.
And we require that the dumpster be covered to control odors and vermin where they don't use very often.
I'm sorry, was that a question or a statement? Are we required to have it covered? Yes, we will.
Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns from the commission members? Okay, so like the last time, we're going to do 3 motions. First motion is to designate the planning commission as the lead agency for secret determinations. I'll make that motion. Kyle will make that seconds. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Approved 5-0. A second motion to designate this as an unlisted action under seeker. I'll make that motion. I see a second from Kelly. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Approved 5-0. And then lastly, a motion to schedule a public hearing for the applicant at 79 Collier Street for our November meeting. And I'll make that motion. Tim, you'll second that. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Mr. Slocum, we'll see you in a month.
So just
Oh, wait, I'm
quick,
sorry.
just real quick.
Sure.
Tito, when he mentioned the chain link fence, 6-foot chain link fence, is that an okay?
Yeah, if it has privacy slats and as long as it's taller than the dumpster, then it complies. I don't know how tall the dumpster is. Probably less than 6 feet.
It is less than 6 feet, but I will verify that. And if we need to bump the fence up to 8 foot, we always could.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a month for the public hearing.
Yes, sir. I'm involved in the next one too, so I'm just gonna.
Oh, okay.
sit
Fair
here.
enough. All right, our next secret determination shows here on my agenda, the applicant is Zakaria Mosla Jaran, but you're going to be sitting in as well?
Nope, I am the property manager there as well, so I'm gonna help
Okay, gotcha.
answer any questions as
So
pertaining to
Mr.
the
Duran is right
property.
here to join us as well. Okay, so, and just for the record, everybody listening at home, this is for the project address at 81-87 State Street. And this is a site plan review for the establishment of a retail food sales business, delicatessen and juice bar in the C2 Downtown Business District. So I'll let you two please introduce yourselves at the microphones and tell us a little bit about the project you have in plan.
Hey, my name is Zakaria Jaran. I'm the owner of the Northside Deli, and I'm trying to open here 24 hours a deli and juice bar, so serve a lot of students here who needs. And yes, who gonna like? There's a lot of people here needing, like a lot of students who's looking for the surface and that can reach our stores. So, and a lot of workers here who didn't have like who have short times for breaks, who serve like healthy foods and quick.
I know I have a couple questions based on the
Sure.
staff reports, but Kelly, do you want to?
You go ahead.
Okay. So, first question is, are you going to be selling smoking products and or alcohol, either to be consumed on site or be taken away? And the reason is, this could change the classification of land use if you are doing either. So what is your plan for alcohol and or tobacco sales?
At the moment, we're not selling any tobacco or alcohol, but we was planning to selling like our permits tobacco like cigarettes, whatever. But we not at the time we're not planning to do any alcohol or tobacco.
Tito, question for you in planning, and Robert, thank you for joining us for Corporation Council as well. If the applicant is going to decide 6 months or a year after planning approval to add alcohol or tobacco sales to their portfolio, what does that mean?
That would change the land use from retail food sales to a convenience store, and a convenience store requires a special use permit, so they'd have to come back to the planning commission.
You could help me on this, members of the committee. Just the questions about the hours that you're open. You know, we would suggest some lighting for security, since everything closes up around 3 in the morning on the weekends, and, you know, whatever it is, 1 in the morning on the weekdays. So kind of to get that absence of security, we want to keep things safe for the people who are coming and going, and don't want to put an extra burden on the city for that. So what's, I guess twofold, what kind of lighting, illumination, and security will you have in place? And if we were to ask you to reduce the hours by a little bit to kind of conform to the bar hours, would that be a thought?
As
Sorry, I can help. There's currently existing lighting, that is set on a timer. It goes on at like 5 PM and it turns off at 6 AM every day. So as far as the exterior lighting, for the property, it's already in place.
Evening security, will you have that? You know, anything like that? I know like you're not serving alcohol, but since you're in that area, you know, it seems like just wondering if you're gonna have any people there, since you're gonna have like a congregate situation. Or at least for the later hours, you know, that you would be, you know,
Well-
maybe the 3 AM till 6 AM. I'm not sure if anybody has any thoughts, they could jump in.
for my planning is for my project, there is no like is only in and out. There is no like hanging out or staying or dining or tables. Just only in and out.
What is the plan for garbage disposal?
Yes, well, we will deal with the private garbage, and we will use a 3 walking can in the back, as the other stores doing is in the back like 3 cans.
This maybe I'm going to direct this towards you. So I'm not, I guess, as familiar to the back wall of this building. What's the garbage situation behind the building for the applicant?
So behind the building, there's a location directly outside of our back door where currently directly to the right if you're coming out of the building, or the left if you're looking at it, Tom and Marty's has their Bert Adams cans or Taylor cans with the wheels and the lids that they take to the appropriate location a couple times a week. Their plan is to do the same thing, and I asked in detail about this prior to signing the lease, and they're confident in their ability to be able to take care of it with those cans, because they already have a very similar business in a different location.
Tito, is that sufficient garbage plan, or do you need more detail or specificity?
That's up to the commission. I think that sounds reasonable.
Okay. Okay. Do they need to update the plans to show a can out in the back?
Yeah, the location of wherever the cans will be kept should be
Okay.
shown.
All right. Also maybe given Kelly's question, if maybe also if you're going to be doing an updated plan before the next meeting, showing where the outdoor lights are that are going on with a timer might be useful as well.
No problem.
Okay. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns for this applicant?
I have one. Is there any plan for signs to go up for this? And the only reason I ask is that this isn't a historic district and that would be subject to approval to the Commission on Urban Architecture and Design.
Yeah, yes, for the sign on lighting, we will use as the neighbors, the same light, the same rules for them. We will do the same for as our neighbors for the stores.
Okay, yeah, so you might just have to work with planning in terms of doing like a sign permit and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Oh, Tim, yes, go ahead.
So you're currently the owner of Northside Deli on Chenango Street?
Yeah, I just sold it like in September, like 2 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know they've had issues with the double street parking there with all the DoorDash applicants. I was just curious about what on parking for DoorDash, but if you're not the owner of that,
Yeah,
I guess that's not the issue.
yeah, we know, it's.
Any other questions or comments? All right, at this point, I'm going to be making two motions. First motion is to declare this a type 2 action under seeker and that no further environmental review is required. I'll make that motion. Kelly, you'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Approve 5-0. And then I'll make a second motion to schedule the applicant for 81 State Street for a public hearing at our November meeting. Oh, I see a motion from Kyle and a second from Tim. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's 5-0. I guess we'll see you guys next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That concludes secret determinations for this evening. We are now at that portion of the meeting for public hearings and final deliberations. Applicants will be asked to step to the microphone to make a brief presentation of the commission describing their project. For most projects, this is the second time we're reviewing your plans, so it would be helpful if you provided a brief update and clearly identified any changes that have been made since the last time you were before the commission. Once the applicant is done presenting and any changes have been reviewed, we will open the public hearing and will allow members of the community to speak about the applicant's proposal. After the commission has heard from all community members interested in speaking tonight, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate and possibly make a final decision. Again, as we did during secret determinations, we would ask that all applicants and anyone with them, engineers, architects, attorneys, etc., please identify themselves with a name and an address for the public record at the beginning of your presentation. Likewise, when we get to the public hearings, we would ask that all community members identify themselves with a name and an address for the public record before you begin your comments. We would ask that during the public hearings that you limit your comments to 5 minutes and limit your comments to the actual application being discussed. So with all that out of the way, our first public hearing tonight scheduled is the applicant is 15 Smith Ave LLC with a project address of 4 Travis Ave. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the demolition of an existing structure and construction of an ancillary parking lot in the I-3 Heavy Industrial District. How you doing, gentlemen?
Good evening. My name is Nolan Kokoris with Bonchenik and King. We're the attorneys for the applicant.
My name is Dwight Wethy with CNS Engineers. who retained as the engineer for the project.
I'll let you two give a brief updates on the plans from last month and any changes that have been made, given the feedback you received last month.
Absolutely. So this application concerns a property at 4 Travis Ave. It's currently zoned I3 heavy industrial, and the application is concerning a change in the use of the property from the existing non-conforming residential use to a conforming permitted parking lot use. The property is about 1/10 of an acre in size, and the parking lot that's proposed would be approximately 3,990 square feet. And it would add 9 parking spaces to the site. And that would be a continuation of the existing parking located next door on the parcel at 2 Travis Ave. And as we mentioned at the previous meeting, we would propose that a potential condition of approval would be that the applicant combine the 2 lots into one parcel under common ownership, and that would avoid the need for a special use permit. Since the last meeting, we received some feedback from the city concerning the landscaping plan. The STC suggested that certain type of—
Interrupt you for anybody paying attention at home. STC is the Shade Tree Commission.
Oh, thank you. I could not remember what that stood for, so I just wrote down STC. Yeah, the Shade Tree Commission recommended certain species of shrub be installed and that a couple of large trees be added to the landscape plan. And those conditions are amenable to the applicant. So we would put in a modified landscaping plan following tonight's meeting.
You started mentioning it, but I don't know if I caught the answer. So are you or will you be combining the 2 lots into one tax map number?
Yes.
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 Already done, still ongoing, still to be done?
Still to be done. We would propose that that be a condition of the approval, just to confirm that we have the approval before we get a new survey and go through the the fees associated with changing the ownership.
Okay. At this point, yes, Kelly, go ahead.
There was another concern. We got a letter in from a property owner that buffers up to you. From Juan Rios, and sent a picture in, and it looks like there does need to be, further, kind of be nice if there was a privacy fence there on that lot line. Can you read where that is, Chris?
Yeah.
Reese Smith Avenue was
Okay.
the addressing question.
And if you haven't been provided a picture of that, we do have one here. I could show you, but it looks like a privacy fence along that would be something that they had concerns with. It looks like it'd be something we would, it'd be wonderful you could do. I can bring my computer so you can see it.
Oh, sure, that'd be great.
Yeah, it appears there's actually posts from a previous privacy fence that was taken down already on that lot line, so.
Would that be something that you'd be able to do?
I believe so. And just to be clear, is that property is on the northern boundary,
It'd be the east to the east.
the east?
It's-
Okay. Yeah, I believe that would be something that the applicant could do.
Are there any other questions or comments before we open up the public hearing? Okay, I'll have you two gentlemen step aside for just a moment and we'll open up the public hearing. Okay, so this is the public hearing for the applicant 15 Smith Ave LLC with a project address at 4 Travis Ave. Again, for the site plan review and special use permit for the demolition of an existing structure and construction of ancillary parking lot in the I-3 Heavy Industrial District. Is there anybody who'd like to speak at this public hearing on this project? If so, please step down to the mics. While we wait for possibly anybody else to show up in the next 30 seconds, Tito, besides the one letter that was already distributed, has there been anything else submitted to the planning department?
No, just the letter from Mr. Rios about the fence.
Okay. I don't see a parade of people coming on down, so I think I feel comfortable. You have to take a motion to declare the public hearing closed, or did I just declare it closed? Okay, I'll make a motion to declare the public hearing closed. I see a second from Kyle. All those in favor say aye. Aye, it's approved 5-0. So the public hearing is now closed. Step back up to the microphones. All right. Are there any other questions or comments before, as part of the final deliberations? Okay. So I guess I would make a motion to approve the site plan and the special use permit condition on the combination of the two parcels.
So
Or wait, okay, yes.
I
Don't
believe-
second my motion. Maybe it's not
I
good.
believe it's that they don't need the special use permit with combining the two
Oh,
parcels.
okay. So I will reword my motion. So I will make a motion to approve the site plan contingent upon the combination of the two parcels.
And I would just put a time limit on that, 6 months work for the applicant.
Yes.
Okay.
Within 6 months.
Yeah.
And with the modification of the shrubbery, trees and fence.
And the private fence. Okay. So Sheila, did you get that for what you need for minutes? So 2 conditions. 1, combining the 2 properties within 6 months. And 2, the trees, shrubs, and privacy fence along the 3 Smith Ave boundary line. We're good? Okay. So that's a motion. I see a second from Kelly. All those in favor of that approval with those 2 conditions, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, our final public hearing for this evening. The applicant is Upstate Tires Binghamton LLC with a project address of 12 Alice Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit to establish a light industrial facility, wholesale tire sale and storage in the I-3 Heavy Industrial District. Good evening.
My name
If
is
you could
Brian
please-
Doak.
Go ahead.
I'm the engineer attained to work on the site plan for this project. This is my client.
My name is Tony Singh, and I own the LLC, Upstate Tire LLC.
Do you want to give us any updates on the plans, given the feedback that was provided to you folks at last month's meeting?
Well, I'm a new engineer on this project. The preceding engineer was at the last meeting, and as I understand it, what was requested at that meeting was a site plan for the use of the building as such. And I've provided a site plan in addition to the use of the interior of the space for the tire sales and storage. And I believe you all have seen the plans. I sent them to Tito, and I believe he distributed to everybody. So I'm sorry I don't have a display to show you. I can answer any questions. As you can see from the plan, the first floor is about 13,250 square feet. It's going to be used for sales, displays for the tires, and the basement will be used for the storage of the tires. And as you can see from my code analysis, the zoning code analysis, there's actually a little bit of confusion because it was listed in the Broome GIS as a heavy industrial area, I3. And I looked at it that way to make sure that we are to be in compliance with I3 for the light industrial or the heavy industrial. And in both cases, you need a special permit because it's a tire distribution site. And I've complied with all of the conditions in the code as is shown on sheet 2 of the plans that I've provided. And I believe that we've met every aspect of the zoning and building code for the use of this building as a tire distribution center. It goes from a heavy industrial to a medium storage facility, S2, I believe is what it is. But basically, that's all that is wanted to be done is that the building will be used for both storage and for tire sales, tire distribution.
Questions and comments from the members of the commission? Oh, go ahead, Kelly.
Just asking some basics. I think we've already clarified, but there's not going to be any outside storage of the tires. Okay.
No, that's not allowed according to the zoning code.
Absolutely. So we just wanted to clarify. And there were some questions about painting the exterior of the building, that we were hoping that would be done.
That is done already. That is done already.
Okay.
It's done.
That's my question.
This will be a question actually for our friends in planning. The submitted site plan, does it meet all the details about compliant concrete aprons and overhead doors and stuff that was mentioned in the staff report?
I don't see aprons noted on the site plan in front of the overhead doors. That's something that the planning commission could require. They don't exist right now. That's why they're not shown. But that's our recommendation, is that compliant concrete aprons be installed in front of those loading dock areas.
I will ask this as I see our applicant taking down some notes. Where can they find out where those details are for compliant concrete apron details?
Excuse me, there
No.
are concrete aprons. There are 2 bays and they're concreted now. They're the loading areas now where they're inserted. If you see the plan I provided, they're shaded out and that area is covered over and it is concrete apron in there.
I see one at the first bay. There's not much really left there. Same with the second bay. So they're pretty far gone.
Are you talking about the entryway from the roadside into?
Correct.
Across the sidewalk?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. So would that apron be the responsibility of the owner to replace?
Correct.
And
If the planning commission requires you to.
I see.
And then the standard for a concrete apron, the engineering department can provide that, the specs for that.
Okay, yeah. I believe only the first bay, the one to the left shown on the plan, as you look at the building from the front, is to be used for loading and unloading or unloading tires.
I think our precedent is usually to require, we usually would recommend it if it's noticeably in disrepair. I know we've done that on other sites, so even if they're
We
not
can certainly add that as a condition of approval,
just
when we get to a potential vote.
okay.
Are there any other questions for the applicant before we open the public hearing? All right, I'll have you folks step aside for just a minute. I don't know if we're gonna have that many people speaking on this, but we gotta give everybody a chance. So I'm now declaring open the public hearing for the applicant Upstate Tires Binghamton LLC with a project address of 12 Alice Streets for a site plan review and special use permit to establish a light industrial facility, the wholesale, tire sale and storage in the I-3 heavy industrial district. Is there anybody here who'd like to speak on this project? Tito, or while we're waiting for this parade of people to come down to the microphone, I didn't see anything submitted in writing. Have there been any letters or other written communications on this project?
We did get something after the meeting started here.
Okay.
From Susan Gagan, the owner of 2527 Alice Street, which is across the street, and houses the Insulation Man LLC. She mentions a conflict she had with someone from the property in question, is not really relevant to site plan review. Then she goes on to say she thinks it's great that someone is going to occupy the space, but how will they deliver tires to this location without encroaching on her property and disrupting traffic on Alice Street and endangering the people walking down the street? Please note, there are no sidewalks on Alice Street. Every day, people are forced to walk on the edge of my property in order to safely walk down the street. I have no issues with that, but I can't tolerate another business creating issues and dangerous situations for my company and the community. This company should not be allowed to conduct this type of business at this location.
Okay. One last chance. Anybody in the audience want to speak on this project? Seeing nobody stepping forward to come to the microphone, I'll make a motion to declare the public hearing closed. Do I see a second on that? I'll take Tim's second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, I hereby declare the public hearing closed. I'll ask the applicants to step back to the microphone and we'll I'll start by asking, so can you discuss for us what is the plan for unloading and loading of trucks at these two bays? Will this be disrupting traffic on Alice Street? How is this going to work? I'll let you guys describe what the operational plan is.
Well, just a brief discussion Tony and I had before the meeting was that we'll probably get 1 to 2 deliveries per week. And they will back into the bay to the left of if you look at the front of the building, one bay is going to be used. And the reason they're going to use that is because there's a conveyor in the back to lower the tires down to the basement to store them down there. But they're not going to be tractor trailers. They're going to be trailers that are going to be box trailers. And there's enough room to back them in without encroaching on traffic. I'm not aware of the traffic count on Alice Street, but I don't think it's the times that I've been out there, it hasn't been a high volume of traffic, shall we say. I respect the lady's concerns about pedestrian safety, but for the 1 or 2 times a week that the deliveries will be received, I fail to comprehend a situation that would be a continual danger to the public.
I guess for me, what you're telling me is these will be shorter trucks that when they're pulling in will not be blocking off both lanes of traffic for an hour to clip. That's what you're telling me. Okay.
That's correct. Now I don't know the actual depth of the truck, but the bays are like 40 feet deep.
Okay.
So they should be able to be pretty much, the whole box should be pretty much underneath the canopy.
And then maybe this question is directed toward planning. What are I don't know, I don't walk on Alice Street very often. I don't know what the sidewalk status is. What is the responsibility of any individual property owner, which might also include now our friends here at 12 Alice, for maintaining, adding non-existent current sidewalks?
Yeah, the sidewalks, although they're public property, they're the responsibility of the abutting property owner to maintain, to shovel and keep in good condition.
It doesn't have an app as a responsibility to add sidewalks if there aren't already existing ones.
No, there's no, that, I mean, you can request that, but that they don't have a responsibility to do that where the sidewalk doesn't exist.
Okay. Other, yes, Tim, go ahead.
I'm sorry, what's the height of the bay doors there? Do you know that?
I don't know offhand, but it was probably close to 16 feet because I believe the outside of the building is 18 feet altogether.
And these trucks would be able to fit and
Yeah.
accommodate through?
Yes.
They're going to be roadworthy, so they're going to be probably under 14.
Where are we with the installation of new compliant concrete aprons at the loading docks?
I think there may be a motion at some point to make approval of this site plan contingent upon the installation. I'm guessing that someone's gonna be like, yeah, let's make this contingent. I don't know if everybody feels that
So
way. but I
are
think
you
at least-
aware that that's one that was in the staff comments?
I was not aware of it.
Concrete aprons at
Yeah.
the loading docks?
I didn't see the comments from the previous meeting.
Is that a problem?
No, it should not be a problem.
Any other questions or comments for our applicant? Okay. Well, if that is the case, then I'm willing to make a motion to approve the site plan and special use permit for the applicant contingent upon the installation of appropriate compliant concrete aprons that match city engineering specs and regs. I see a second from Kyle. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous, 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that is the end of public hearings. Before all our friends from the college run away, I would encourage you, if you want to stay and hang around and ask us a question about what went on tonight, you're welcome to do so. But we do have one other piece of other business on the agenda, which is affordable housing legislation. Tito, at this point, I would let you have the floor for a moment.
So the purpose of the legislation is to take a look at some of the barriers to the construction of new housing that exist in the zoning code and to reduce or eliminate them. There are three main changes that we're making. The first is to the bulk requirements, which are things like building height, lot size, et cetera. The second is to the parking requirements. And then the third is to the land uses section of the code. So I can go down a list of changes, or I can just field questions, however you all want to do it.
A procedural question for you, Tito. Are you looking for one group, like, the planning commission approves or supports this entire slate of proposed changes? Or you want individual ones for each of the three subsections?
It would be a motion to recommend approval of the amendment or approval with changes or
Okay.
denial.
Okay,
So it would be the whole amendment, but you could recommend changes as part of that too.
okay. It is, I will say this, you know me, I'm the parking czar around here. I have reservations about eliminating some of these parking requirements. I think despite our desire to be a carless society, we're not there yet. Probably won't be in my lifetime. I think we do need to have parking requirements for buildings. So I've said my piece.
So just as a response to that, constructing parking is very expensive. And so when a developer is building housing, having a parking requirement can take a big chunk of their budget, which they could have used to build more units, and the land that they have, which could have been used to build more units or to provide amenities or natural space for residents. And so that's the idea, is that if we get rid of that burden to the developer, they can either build more units or pass the savings on to residents in terms of lower rents. I will note that we're eliminating the parking requirement for affordable housing and senior housing, but there would still be a parking requirement for other types of housing. It'd be reduced for 1 to 4 bedroom units, but it would still exist. And then for those higher bedroom count units, those would still have the higher parking requirement. So when you have a 8 bedroom or 9 bedroom group house, that would still have that higher requirement.
I guess the classification of whether it's senior housing or affordable housing, is that done at the use, like at the development level before? So I guess how is it classified, or could somebody just say that it's something and then rent it to other people, I guess?
It would have to be a project that is subject to some sort of like regulatory agreement. So it would have to be a senior housing only community, and they would have to provide evidence that that would continue to be the case, or it would be something that is getting low income housing tax credits, or is bound by some other agreement to maintain affordability.
But Tito, isn't one of the things that we've been talking on the planning commission is that once we grant a project approval for something, even if it's sold 50 years later, so someone might be given senior housing status or affordable housing status in the year 2024, but if that building is now resold in 2074 and it's now going to be market rate housing, like they've converted over, like I'm thinking the ones over at Ely Park, those at one point were affordable housing units. They're now market rate housing units. What we approve or don't approve for parking is now grandfathered in to market rate housing in the future forever, right?
That could be the case, yeah. But with the affordable housing specifically, that's projects that are getting state or federal funds. And so a state or federal agency would be doing the monitoring, and usually they have pretty long affordability periods. So if the buildings ever become market rate down the line, it would be way down the line. And I don't know, we may not even have parking requirements by then. And then the same for the senior housing. I mean, if someone were to try to do a bait and switch that way, then the zoning officer could take an action if it happened in the short term. With the senior housing, it couldn't happen with the affordable housing, but if it happened with the senior housing, the zoning officer could take action.
Any other comments, questions, concerns? Go ahead, Kelly.
I just have the same concern about the affordable housing, not as much as senior housing, but the affordable housing, because I do feel like Ely Park is an example, even when that was affordable housing, a lot of people drive. We really aren't up to speed on that. Is there a way to reduce it to a much lower percentage than we would in a normal situation, but have them provide something? I know.
The truth is that most housing developments are going to have some parking. We just don't want to mandate it, and we leave that up to the developer to figure out what their market is and how many spaces they need. We just don't want to force them to incur those costs. And that could in some cases make or break the project, because if you can't provide the parking, you have to reduce your unit count. You may not meet some threshold that you need to get a grant or so on. So most of these buildings are going to have parking lots. I can't think of any affordable housing project that's come before the planning commission that was looking for a full waiver of parking. We just don't want to set that number on behalf of the applicant. We want to make sure we get as many obstacles out of the way as possible to build affordable housing.
Any other questions or comments about the about the plan? All right, if there's no more discussion, this motion may not pass, but I'm going to make a motion to support the affordable housing legislation with the recommendation that we eliminate the entire section about parking requirements. So I support 2/3, but recommend eliminating the third about parking requirements. I'll make that motion. I don't know if anyone's going to second that, but. Okay, so it appears that motion will fail for lack of a second. So I'll let somebody else make a different motion. Just want to make a motion just to support the proposed affordable housing legislation as is.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so I see a motion from Kyle to support it as is. Is there a second for Kyle's motion? Second by Mario. All those in favor say aye. I see 4 ayes. All those against say nay. There's 1 nay. So so you get the support 4-1. Okay. With that, before we officially adjourn, is there any other new business? Okay. Tito, when is our next meeting? It's going to be November 5th, which is election day.
Correct.
Okay. If there is any sort of change of that meeting date because it's election day and maybe the building's not available or something like that, you'll alert the world that, we're moving it to a different date.
Yeah, we would update the city calendar. We'd let you all know on Basecamp, and we would write the public noticing accordingly.
Perfect. With that, I will make a motion to adjourn tonight's October meeting. Do I see a second?
I'll second that one. Chris.
Okay, I see a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Oh, you're opposed? Okay, put Mario down. He's opposed to adjourning.
Do we have any questions from Nancy?
Yes, let's ask any of our friends from the collegiate geography class. Do you have any questions for us about what you witnessed here tonight? Procedurally, substantively? Yeah, this is your question. Ask lots of questions so you can impress Jennifer that you paid attention.
Well, thank you. Chris, nicely done. Yes.